Time now for the last word with Stephen Brunt, joining us today from our Sportsnet studios in Toronto. Now, a Gretzky is making headlines, but not from the ice. Trevor Gretzky is turning some heads as an outfielder playing in the Chicago Cubs farm system. With hockey genes like that, Stephen, how did Wayne Gretzky's son decide to pick up baseball and not hockey?
Well, I guess the thing for all of us to do is wrap our heads around where Trevor Gretzky grew up. He is the son of maybe one of the most famous two Canadians that there is, and Wayne Gretzky, a guy who grew up in Brantford, Ontario. But Trevor Gretzky grew up in Manhattan when his dad was playing for the Rangers. He grew up in California. He grew up in Phoenix when Wayne Gretzky was coaching the Coyotes. He's an American kid in a lot of ways and grew up in that environment. Plus, Wayne, obviously, maybe the greatest hockey player of all time, but anybody who knows anything about his upbringing in Brantford, he's a guy who loved baseball and played a lot of baseball in the summer back in the days when hockey players didn't have to play hockey 12 months of the year when they were kids. So his dad's love of baseball, the fact that he grew up in the States, I think that his love of football and his skill in football as well, all of that comes from an upbringing that is more American than Canadian.
What are some of the challenges he's faced having the great one as his dad?
It's tricky having that last name. Even if you're not living in a hockey hotbed, even if you're playing a different sport, and I think that's it's a distinctive last name. Anytime you see the name Gretzky written down on a lineup in any sport, everybody's going to notice. Now, that said, when he played high school football in California, he played on a team where Will Smith's kid and Joe Montana's kid were also part of the roster. It tells you what kind of a high school it was. So he may be in that California environment, that celebrity environment, maybe he was a little more used to it than some people would be.
What kind of player is Trevor Gretzky? Should we expect him to see him at Wrigley Field anytime soon?
Well, not anytime soon. And honestly, he's a long shot. And baseball, it's a long road in baseball, a longer road from the low minor leagues to the pros than in any other sport. This last season, Trevor Gretzky played in what we call low A ball and then into A ball, so the lower end of the Chicago Cubs farm system. He's an outfielder. He's a big, tall, skinny kid. He's 6'4", 170 pounds, so he's got to bulk up. But he was a very, very good high school player in California. The Cubs scouted him there. That's why they drafted him. And so obviously I don't think the Chicago Cubs drafted him because of his last name. I think they drafted him because they thought maybe over time he's a guy who could potentially become a Major League Baseball player.
Stephen, thanks for your insight on all this. We'll see you next week.